Welcome everybody to this Geometry Dash tutorial in which we're gonna go ahead and check exactly how to use the rotate trigger. The rotate trigger allows you to do a lot of cool effects and stuff, and this actually is a very easy trigger to use at the beginning. However, there is a lot of settings, so it does go in depth later on and it gets complicated. So we're gonna start off very simple. This video is gonna be like split between, you can say, like different parts, and we're gonna start with the very easy part. Now, how do we rotate something? So first of all, let's do something very simple. Let's say I have this monster right here, so we're gonna go ahead and click here and add it. By the way, my tutorials are always beginner friendly, so don't worry. So let's say we want this to, like, if we go to here and platformer mode, so we want it so that if I start, this guy should just rotate downwards like that, but smoothly and slowly. So the first thing is you want to select it by going to edit and clicking on it, and then edit group, and then you want to give it a new group ID. Let's say you give it 1, click on add, and then basically go to the rotate trigger which you added in here, and this time click on edit object and just click in here 1. It looks complicated, but don't worry, just do in here degrees 90. So what this is gonna do is rotate my boy by 90 degrees, and now he's going up. And if you want to make him go down, just add a minus, a negative sign, and now my boy is gonna rotate downwards. Now this is extremely simple. You guys see, wherever you place this is where the animation is going to start. So this is pretty cool. And you can also play around with the move time. If you want him to kind of take a bit longer, you can do that. Or if you want him to be a bit smoother, you can change the easing, and now he's a bit smoother. You can also copy and paste this, and they're all gonna rotate on their own axis. This is where it starts to get a bit complicated, but let's say now you don't want to rotate it like that, but instead you want to have an object like here, and you want it to kind of rotate around that. So to really demonstrate what I mean, you could select the object that you wanted to rotate around and then go to edit group, extra, and then group parent. You don't have to do this if you just want to go straight to the triggers, but this is just to showcase. So normally if you selected this, it's gonna show you this right here, so the rotate. But now if you select 2, you guys are gonna see that this is like the center point. This is exactly how we want it to rotate, because we made this basically the group parent. If we remove this, you guys can see that the rotation is not what we want. Okay, perfect. So this guy has a group ID of 1, and we want to give this one also a group ID. We want to give it the next free one, which is 2 in our case. By the way, if I'm going fast, feel free to like rewind or anything you want. Okay, so now we want to click the rotate trigger, edit object, and in here we just want to do 2. And now, instead of rotating around his own axis, he's gonna use the center group of 2, which is this one, as his anchor point, or as his center of rotation. So if we do 180, that is of course a half spin, and you can also do minus 360, which does a full 360. You could also go ahead and hide this, which is gonna make it invisible, and now you got this one, which is pretty cool. Okay, so now we have learned how to do that. Now, if you could also, let's say instead of this monster, you want to rotate this block. And firstly, I'm just gonna go ahead and unhide this so that we can actually see it. So what you could do is select this one, copy values, select this one, and then paste state. What this is gonna do is make this one also have the group ID of 1, the same as the monster. And now you guys can see that it's rotating around alongside the monster. So we're gonna get rid of the monster and only rotate this one. So now you guys can see that this guy is rotating, but what if we wanted to rotate like that and not like this? You guys see like the entire block is also rotating. So to do that, you just go here and a log object rotation, and you guys can see that this is the difference. And by the way, it's very important to note that if you are rotating something around a center object like this one, only one object is allowed to have that group ID. So what that means is if I copy and paste this, now there is this object with group ID of 2 and this one with 2. And this trigger is not gonna know which one you really want to, so it's not gonna work. So make sure you only have one, or if you want to go fancy, you can make one of them P. P means the parent group, and now it's gonna basically count that as the parent and not this. And by the way, there can only be one pink parent object. So you guys can see if I make this one pink, this one is no longer pink. And if I make that one pink, this one is no longer pink. Okay, we're just gonna stay simple and we're gonna use one single center group. And yeah, you guys can see that this is pretty cool. Now, just a quick little, interesting thing. Let's say you want to loop this so that it keeps rotating and rotating and rotating. First of all, I'm just gonna flip the direction so that it goes like that. And now what I'm gonna do to make this loop, you firstly just want to know what speed do you want. So I would say a speed of, if you make this 2, so 2 seconds, yeah, I think that's a reasonable speed. By the way, if you do this now, it's gonna start looking, yeah, pretty cool. Okay, now I see that it's a bit too slow, so I'm gonna do 3. And yeah, this is pretty cool. So if this is a platformer level, yep, sounds pretty good. Now it stops, which is not cool. We want this to loop infinitely. So to do that, it's actually very simple. So what you want to do is click on this trigger and then go to here and just click on create loop. And what this is going to do is loop this trigger, but we're not quite done yet because you guys can see that it's gone a bit faster and now for some reason it stops. So it doesn't make that much sense. So to fix this, you want to go on here and check this. So the move time is 3. So we want to run this and then run it again after 3 seconds. So you want to go to this one, the one directly above the rotate trigger, go in here and add 3 in here. What this is going to do is spawn the rotate trigger, so it rotates it within 3 seconds, and then after that it's instantly going to start rotating it again. So basically just an infinite loop. Instead of having to copy and paste the rotate trigger, you can just do that, which is the most optimal way of doing it and the best way of doing it. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now there's a bit of an issue. Why? Because now let's say you want to go fancy, where you make it a bit larger and then you do this, and then you guys will start to see that, yeah, rotate trigger is not that easy. And by the way, quickly, I'm just gonna go ahead and add a zoom trigger, edit object, and we're gonna go ahead and just zoom out just a tiny bit. Okay, so now we can see stuff, which is pretty cool. So we don't want this to be like that, but instead we want it to rotate like this. We want them to basically like stick together and not do this weird thing. So to fix that, it's actually a bit harder, and there isn't really a way right now to do it simply, but let me just walk you through what you need to do. So you want to bring everything up there, and let's just remove all of these guys. Actually, we're gonna keep them. We're just gonna keep like one at every corner. And now what you want to do is, you can see that right now they're all rotating, which is perfect. But what if you want to have like a 3-spaced block like this? Or if you are using the pixel art, what if you want to have something like, where's that block? Yeah, something like this, for example. Like this is not going to work if you just do this. So if you try that, you guys are going to see that it's a big mess, and we don't want that. So instead, what you want to do is, actually, I'm just going to keep this so that we use it as a reference instead of this. So let's say you want to use that, and you want to assign a new group ID to each one of these. So you go to the left one, you go to edit group, give it a group ID of 4, right? 4, and then give all of these guys a group ID too. So let's say you give them 5. And now you want to add a follow trigger. Just stick with me. So follow trigger, you want 5 to follow 4. So we want all of these to follow the movements of object 4, which is that. And now you guys, if you start, you guys are going to see that this is following the trajectory. But of course, you're going to have to make this like really large. And in here, you can't do -1, but whatever. But now if you guys make it really big, you guys are going to see that this is exactly what we want. Now, you could say, well, I'm just going to copy and paste it and do that. But yeah, that's not exactly what we want. And now you guys can probably see why we kept every single one of these. So I'm just going to go ahead and hide the ground. And now I'm just going to go ahead and do this. And I'm going to give it a new, actually, I'm going to give this one a new group ID first. So 6, and this one is 7 instead of 5. And then you want to copy this one. So we want 7 to follow 6. So 7 to follow 6. So now you guys can see that it is starting to look pretty cool. Okay, so we want to add another one in there, and this one is going to be 8, this one is going to be 9, and then we're going to do 8 to follow 9, right? 9 to follow 8. It's very important to do that correctly, otherwise I mean, you can just debug it really. Okay, and also make sure that these guys don't have the previous group ID, otherwise it's gonna bug out. So this one, remove all of them and give them 10. So this time we want 10 to follow 11, just so that it gets a bit simpler. So 10 to follow 11. So now you guys can see that we have created exactly what we want. Now you guys might see that there's something weird. I don't know what it is, but it is something weird. And that's because you gotta like place these in the exact same spot. And I'm just gonna go ahead and select all of them, edit group, and click on this plus, and then click on go to layer. This is gonna bring you to here, and just go ahead and place them like exactly in the spot that you want, like that. And now just bring them down. And also these guys, you can like completely hide them, but do not delete them, because you're gonna, if you delete them, this following is not gonna work. So now that's pretty cool. We have created these guys, which is awesome, because now let's say you want to give them a color. So just go ahead and change this up to maybe like, I don't know, let's do like dark pink, and this one let's do like yellow. Yeah, something like this looks pretty cool. Okay, so now what's cool is that, first of all, let's actually add a hitbox on them. And in case you guys don't know, you can just add these guys if you want, and just copy the values of this one and select these and paste the state. So now these guys are going to move alongside the block. So this is just a hitbox, and you can add them on a new layer so that you can just select them later on, but make sure to make them hidden so that you can't see them, but you can still land on it, right? All right, this is pretty cool. Look at this. Okay, so we're going to do the exact same thing, but for all of these. So in here, copy values, paste state, move them down, copy values, paste state, move them down, copy values, paste state. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and select this one, go to delete, custom, make sure you have select filter on, and select everything, make them all hide. And go back to none. This is very important, otherwise you won't be able to select anything. And now you guys can see that we have created exactly what we want. So this looks phenomenal. Why? Because you can add as much stuff as you want on top of it, and it's not going to hurt anything. So 9 red, let's do a bit of pinkish like that. Just make sure you copy the values and paste them in here. Copy, paste, and then copy, paste. Just make sure these guys are not on hide, because sometimes you select this one and it copies the hide property too, which is not exactly what we want. Okay, so I'm gonna make this like, let me change the background. Let's just make this look pretty cool. I'm gonna use a pixelated, let's do this one. Let's do a bit dark. Let's do, I don't know, like, actually, let's do gray. Gray might look cool. Yeah, that's pretty nice. And this one's gonna go like that. You can like extend it and do whatever, but main point is that you can add as much stuff as you want to it, and the rotation will not break, because they're just following. And if you want to make it passable, just select everything in here and go to passable, and now you can just go through it like that. Pretty cool. I don't know why it did that little jump right there, but whatever. And if you want to add it as saw blade, you can add it in here as like the rotation center. Is that the center? Looks like it. I think so. And yeah, just make it a bit smaller, make it untouchable, so no touch in here to make it you know, no touch. And now just copy the values and paste the color this time. Actually, I'm gonna do 2 and 1 instead, because it looks a bit cooler. And yeah, we have created a rotating thing, and this one doesn't kill you, which is pretty cool. All right, now I think that's some pretty good stuff. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add an end trigger right there, and let's give it a try. Before I give it a try, I just want to go ahead and add this one just to make sure it looks a bit better. And yeah, we have created very cool rotating platforms, and you guys can see that it didn't really take that long. If you really know how to do it, it really does not take that long. So that's pretty cool. You just go ahead up there, and there is the end. All right, I really hope you guys learned something new today. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and also like right now. And feel free to rewatch this if you feel like you missed some points. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next tutorial.